Yo, YouTube, what is good, bruv gang, what is good, and we are back with another video. So recently a friend of mine was looking for a new JRPG series to get into, and my first thought was to recommend the Trails series. Now the series is known for being super long but very rewarding once you get to the end of it. So initially, he wanted to start with Trails of Cold Steel on the PS4, but I told him he would have to start with the Sky Trilogy, which is only available on PSP and PC. This then got me thinking about accessibility when recommending new JRPGs for people to play it. So in this video, I wanted to explore 5 JRPGs that I feel need to be ported to modern consoles. Tales of the Abyss. Now when it comes to the Tales series, there are a bunch of older titles in this series that I feel need to be remastered or ported to modern consoles. But one game I've been praying and hoping for is Tales of the Abyss. Now Tales of the Abyss was the second Tales game I personally had played after Tales of Symphonia, and was such an incredible experience right from the very start right to the very end. So released back in 2005, Tales of the Abyss was initially released for the PS2 and then was later ported to the Nintendo 3DS back in 2011. With of course emulators being a thing nowadays, I still feel Tales of the Abyss is a game that everyone needs to experience, and I think its lack of accessibility definitely does the game a disservice at times, which I feel sometimes can make it very difficult to recommend the game to newer fans of the series. So although the game does hold up very well on the PS2, and I personally never played the 3DS version of the game, I still feel this is the one game in the series that is definitely deserving of a port to modern consoles. So with Bandai Namco releasing a remastered version of Tales of Symphonia for the Nintendo Switch, PS4 and Xbox One back in 2023, it does give me a little bit of hope that in the future we could potentially see a remaster for Tales of the Abyss, as this is personally one of my favourites in the series, and is personally a game I feel more people need to experience. Skies of Arcadia. Widely regarded as one of the best Dreamcast and GameCube JRPGs, my first experience with Skies of Arcadia came back on the GameCube in the early 2000s, and for me was such a fresh take on how to execute a different type of JRPG story. The unique setting of the game was such a different spin on what we were used to seeing in JRPGs. That unique plot of being a sky pirate, going up against a militant power in the skies, and traversing the vast skies in your ship was something that immediately drew me in with Skies of Arcadia. And not to mention the amazing turn-based gameplay, lovable cast of characters, and an original take on exploration. Now with Skies of Arcadia being held in high regard, the game can be extremely hard to recommend to newer fans, as the game as mentioned is stuck on both Dreamcast and GameCube respectively, with physical copies of the game being very rare and extremely hard to get at a good price. Your only option nowadays would be to emulate it. Personally, I still think Sega doesn't realise just how well a modern day remaster of the game would sell. Many people have called for a remake of Skies of Arcadia, which would be incredible in my opinion, but I do think it would be a little bit far-fetched, and a remaster is something that would be more realistic in today's era of JRPG remasters. For me personally, Skies of Arcadia is a game that still holds up even when you go back and replay it. But in terms of accessibility, it's definitely a game I would love to see make a return to modern day platforms and allow more people to experience the vast Skies of Arcadia. Trails in the Sky Trilogy. Now when it comes to not just recommending games, but a series as a whole, none in my opinion tops the Trails series of games. Every game in the series is just so well done, and with the recent ports of the Crossbell duology, which had previously been stuck on the PSP with no official English translation, but as of September 2022, NIS America had finally released ports of these two games, making both games in the series more accessible to newer fans. So with the Crossbell duology being ported over recently, fans have been left in the dark about the trio of games that had started the whole Trails journey off. Now the Trails in the Sky Trilogy for me is such an amazing trilogy of games. With an amazing likeable cast of characters, a beautiful world and story, it's a real shame that these games have been left on just the PSP and PC in 2023. Personally, I would absolutely love to see modern day ports just like the Crossbell duology on modern consoles. I feel when recommending the Trails series to newer fans, it could be extremely difficult for people without access to a PC. So being the main inspiration behind this video, I strongly feel the Trails in the Sky Trilogy is in desperate need of a modern day port, and for me, the trilogy is essential to kickstarting your Trails journey. Xenogears. Now with the recent upsurge in popularity of the Xenoblade Chronicles series from Monolith Soft and legendary director Tetsuya Takahashi, I don't think any game from his past work has been crying out for a modern day console port more than Xenogears. So Xenogears is widely considered to be one of the best and most well written JRPGs on the PS1, and a game that in my opinion was way ahead of its time for a game that was released in 1998. With incredible fleshed out character development, an amazingly well written story, world, and some amazing gameplay to boot, Xenogears is a JRPG that has been adored by fans for years, and in an era of older games getting modern day remasters, fans have been crying out for this game to get a modern day port, and with good reason too. With the recent announcement of another Monolith Soft title in Baten Kaitos, which is set to get a HD remaster of both the first and second game in the series, set for a worldwide release in September of this year, fans are becoming even more hopeful that if Baten Kaitos does sell well, it may give Monolith Soft incentive to revive some of their older titles like Xenosaga for example, which is another series that desperately needs to be revived and is a series I personally did want to add to this list. Now the reason I did mention previously about the Baten Kaitos HD remaster and the potential revival of Xenosaga is because we know there is a huge hurdle in this in regards to rights when it comes to doing a Xenogears port. So essentially, Square Enix or Squaresoft as they were originally known owned the Xenogears IP, with Monolith Soft founder Tetsuya Takahashi being the man who essentially created the Xeno series as we know it, not owning the rights to his own creation which is sadly still under the Square Enix umbrella. Personally, I don't know the whole ins and outs of the whole debacle between Mr. Takahashi and Square Enix, but from what we know, Mr. Takahashi did want to make another game involving the Xenogears IP, but Square Enix unfortunately at the time did not want to pay out for the game, causing him to leave, forming his own company in Monolith Soft. Now I'm not sure where Mr. Takahashi and Square stand today, so getting a modern day port of Xenogears is of course easier said than done, but a large part of me is praying that one day we could see Monolith Soft get the rights to the Xenogears IP and we could see a modern day port of this amazing game that I feel everyone needs to experience. Persona 1 and 2. And when we think of the Persona series, people always think of the games that are usually thrust into the spotlight, with those games being Persona 3, 4 and 5. With the recent ports of Persona 3 and 4 to modern consoles, and Persona 3 set to get a full-on remake in a similar graphical style to recent Atlus title Soul Hackers 2, but the two games in the series that are always left by the wayside it seems are Persona 1 and 2. Persona 1 and 2 essentially feel like the forgotten child in this series. Both games in tone I would say are way more darker than their newer counterparts in Persona 3, 4 and 5, and I think does contribute to fans not even realising these games exist or just forgetting about them altogether. Personally, I played both of these games on the PSP when they were both ported from the PS1, and I still feel gameplay wise were both games I really enjoyed at the time, and both games in my opinion felt like SMT games from a gameplay and aesthetic standpoint as opposed to the modern day tone we see today with games like Persona 4 and 5. Now Persona 1 and 2 are games that in 2023 are both games that have been stuck on super outdated consoles in the PS1 and PSP, and I believe both games are in need of revival and some attention from Atlus. Personally, I would say more of a full-on remaster is needed for both of these games, as of course controls and certain things from a gameplay aspect do need updating. So for me personally, I'm a big fan of the Persona series, but although Persona 1 and 2 may not be as popular as 3, 4 and 5, it would be amazing for Atlus to finally give their forgotten child and the games that kickstarted the Persona series a much needed modern day port. So that will do it for this video guys. I really appreciate you guys for watching. I'd love to know some of the JRPGs you want to see ported to modern consoles, so please let me know down below in the comments. So please like, sub, share if you're new, hit that notification bell so you get notified for my videos first, and I hope I can be you guys' #1 source for all JRPG news. So from me too, this has been your bruv, the big bruv, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next video. I'm out, peace!